102.3 FM and online at www.harbourfm.co.uk. 102.3.
Across South Leicestershire and North Northamptonshire.
Lizzie Waldron's Radio Casebook.
HFM.
Got no antiques in the studio with me tonight, certainly none that I'm planning on selling anyway. Who I am joined is by Kate. Good evening, Kate.
Good evening.
And Jack. Good evening,
Hello.
Jack. Welcome to you both. Now, you are both cast members of Lizzie Waldron and the Bedside Manor, but before we talk about that, let's talk by sort of introducing yourself and telling our listeners a little bit about you and sort of your involvement in theatre, acting, or reading radio plays, starting with Kate.
I've been involved with local amateur dramatics for a number of years, with Wycliffe Drama Group and also Last Minute Theatre at Kibworth. I've got involved with the radio plays last year actually, and you know, it's something really different to do and very exciting, and it's nice to get into a character that you actually don't have to learn the words for particularly. You've got your script, so which is quite good. And I sing with the choir, Novus Cantores in Lutterworth. I'm perhaps involved with that, so we've got we had 3 concerts this year, and we're doing a couple of carol concerts with the church. One in Broadton Astley and one in Lutterworth, 11th of December and the 18th of December, so that's nice. Nice lead up to Christmas, and yes, really, you know, varied interests and you know, across amateur theatre and singing really. So yeah.
Very busy ladies to boot by the sounds of it. And you, Jack?
Well, yeah, I've been doing amateur stuff probably since I was about 11, 24 now. Tomorrow, in fact, a film that I made has been entered into the Birmingham Film Festival, so I'm going there tomorrow to have a little look at that. And next month, the premiere for the TV pilot that me and my friends have created with our production company will be premiering on the 10th of December at the Phoenix in Leicester.
Right.
So, yeah, that's about it really.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about the TV pilot.
So it's a fantasy comedy. We've sort of gone for, in the comedy of the vein of sort of Blackadder, Mighty Boosh. It's very sort of surrealist and strange. And yeah, it's called Angelic, and it's about sort of angels and demons interfering on Earth.
Right.
And I play Gabriel, the title character. But he's not the Archangel Gabriel. He's not very good at his job. Yes, so he's basically sent on a mission to send a notorious sort of criminal to see if he can change him. But he basically ends up on Earth, surrounded by a bunch of freaks and weirdos, where he doesn't really want to be. And yeah, it's sort of about him bumbling through life and trying to learn how to be a human, but ultimately his goal is to try and redeem this notorious human being. But along the way he sort of gets dragged on a lot of adventures, and yeah, so sort of what the plot is about, yeah.
Okay, so if you want to go along and see that, that's the Phoenix, 10th of December.
It's the 10th of December, and I will send you later the page so that you could post it, because I think we've got 15 tickets left if anybody wants to come and see it. Yeah.
Now, I've been to the Phoenix before. It's not a big place, but there's enough seats, so if you've only got 15 left,
yes,
that's not bad going. Back to what you're here to talk about though this evening, Lizzie Waldron. Now, you both got involved in this sort of end of last year, beginning of this year. What made you want to get involved in the first place?
As I said before, it's nice to be involved in something different, although it's still acting, but it's you know, radio. It's a different media, rather than being on the stage, or you know, it's just, and to portray characters without people being able to see them takes a slightly different skill, I think. You've still got to give the over the character, but people can't actually have any visual clues, so it's all with voice and intonation, so it's very different.
It gives you more range as an actor as well, because like Mum's playing a 23-year-old woman, and I shan't tell her how old she is.
21, isn't it?
Yeah, is it? Well,
plus
there we go.
Lots of interest.
So yeah, it gives you a bit more spectrum to play different people. Because you don't necessarily have to play the same age or the same sort of, like, yeah. So you could, there's a bit more scope for you to
And the plays are, well written and, very well thought through, and the characters all, very well rounded, and it's nice to interact with, the other players on a different level as well.
Yeah.
So it's good, yeah.
Because Kate, you've played the same character throughout. Just tell our listeners about the character that you play.
Lizzie Waldron is a female detective. She's a sort of amateur sleuth, but she's quite good at what she does. And she sort of quite often gets the better of the police in a lot of situations, so she sort of investigates and finds out who done it, before the police do. So it's a nice character to play. She's sort of she's got hidden issues, I think, but she's sort of, again, which come out in some of the plays as well, with various family members and things. But she's happy-go-lucky. But she's very good at what she does, and she enjoys the amateur sleuthing. So it's a nice part to play.
During the 3 plays, Jack, you've played different characters.
Yeah,
Tell us about them.
Played 3 different characters. So in the first one, I played Roger, who was Lizzie's friend, helped her out. In the second one, I can't remember who I played in the second one. But in this one, I play a character called Norman, who runs a grocery store. And yes, he's one of the suspects that Lizzie has to figure out who's done the murder.
But you're not the only 2 cast. Obviously, there's more besides yourself, and obviously you've come together tonight for rehearsal. Tell us about the other characters or the other actors that are with you.
Well, there's Chris Pryor and David Quayle and Mary Green, who's joining us for the first time this time. Their characters is Lizzie's mother and a policeman and sort of a cousin of Norman. So there's sort of family connections within the characters. So Mary's first time doing a radio play, so she's very excited because it's a different media for her. She's used to being on stage as well.
It's not the first time that we've worked with her before.
We've worked with her but we hadn't worked with David or Chris before, but it's really nice to work with somebody that you've not worked with in previous things, and again, well-rounded characters that they play, and each bring their own little bit of experience, because they're experienced actors, I think, and we're with Harbour Theatre and it's a musical theatre as well. Yes, it's nice to actually interact and get to meet and work with different people that you wouldn't necessarily work with on stage. So yeah.
And you've done a rehearsal tonight. How has the rehearsal gone? You're obviously doing it under the auspice of the author.
Yes.
How did it go?
I think it went really well. Like, Malcolm writes it and then gets us to perform it and add our own little sort of bits in, like for the character. Obviously not straying from the script, but he likes to see how we develop it as we're reading it. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's very well written, but it's a lot of the characterisations are left up to the various actors, which is very nice. I mean, in some instances when you've got a writer or a director, they know exactly how they want the characters to be played. Malcolm's quite different in that way. He actually, gives a little bit of license to the person that's sort of acting. Obviously, if he thought it wasn't working, or he would say. But I think one of the nice things about the plays is that as you read them, the characters come out to you, so you can sort of see how they need to be played in what way, because it's actually in the script to sort of with how they speak and how they interact with the other characters, that actually how the character will be formed. So
it's nice when we get to play different characters each time we do a script, because then I don't have to do the same voice all the time, so I can do different accents, which is nice for me, because one of the things I'd like to be is a voice actor at some point, and it sort of gives me a chance to just try different voices out, which I enjoy.
But I think Malcolm was quite pleased with the read-through, and I think he's quite happy with how it went. And so we had a couple of. I think we're going to have another rehearsal next week to consolidate everything that we've done tonight. So yes, it's very good.
And then when will it be performed?
It's been performed on the 8th of December on your show.
It is.
I think at 7:30, yes. So that's where we'll be broadcasting live. So that's interesting as well. It's sort of to doing a live broadcast is it keeps everybody on their toes, and hopefully there's no errors or omissions.
Yeah.
But it's I think again that's a nice way of doing it rather than recording, because it's natural. It's sort of the moment. It's not.
You still get the adrenaline rush that forces you to give your all.
It's like being on stage because you're doing a stage thing live, but this is live, although you've got the script, it's still, quite nerve-wracking because you're actually broadcasting to, a few thousand people.
Yes.
And I know that Nick Shaw is going to actually play a replay of it on the Sunday evening, so if there are people listening tonight who can't join us on the Thursday the 8th of December, then you can have another go at being here on, I think it's Sunday the 11th, and it'll be just before midnight, a bit late in the evening, but some people like to listen to things like that just before they go to sleep. Question I've kind of got, if people haven't heard the first two we did earlier in the year, are they going to be at a loss listening to this one? And what sort of, without giving too much away, what's the story about?
The story is Lizzie is slightly incapacitated. She's had a little bit of an accident, so she's in hospital. Her mother, who is quite overbearing in some ways, has took it upon herself to investigate the murder and bring little snippets to Lizzie to actually try and help solve it. And so it sort of revolves around the murder of somebody, and we have sort of 3 suspects, and it's sort of really solved by Lizzie and her mother, in collaboration, but Lizzie's actually sort of in hospital, so she's not actually going out and about. Her mother's doing that bit for her.
Do you think people would need to have heard the first two to actually listen to this one?
No, I think they're sort of...
Yeah, they're obviously standalone. It's obviously Lizzie who investigates, but they are actually sort of, you could hear them in any order or not necessarily with each other, for people to understand them. So if they haven't listened to the first two or first one, then it wouldn't matter. Yeah,
because I believe they're set over different time periods as well. So the first one's in like the 50s, and then this one's in like early 60s. So.
But then there's no sort of interconnection between the two or the 3 plays, but I believe there may be in the future an omnibus maybe.
Wow, yes. I think I might be bringing all the plays together. I think that'd be a nice sort of something a bit different for people to have a chance to hear it all in sort of sequential things. So listen out for that, and I'll give you an idea of some dates when that might be happening. So that's in 2 weeks' time. What's happening in the future for the pair of you? Have you got any things coming up that you're involved in? I know you've mentioned the choir.
Yeah, choir at the moment is the main thing I'm involved in. I'm also working towards doing musical theatre exams. I did take one earlier last year, but with work commitments and various other things, I haven't actually had time to concentrate on doing that. It's just something for myself, but it's just I love singing, I love musical theatre, so I'm actually sort of taking some exams to just for a personal, just to say that I've done it really, for nobody else. But so that's coming up at the moment. I was involved in another one of Jack's friends' little scripts that he wrote. He's been sort of filming. They do little snippets, so I did a bit of filming in November, so October, end of October, beginning of November. So looking forward to seeing when that's coming out. So so it's just little bits and pieces. So it's good.
Yes. The film that I wrote and directed, that's at the Birmingham Film Festival tomorrow. I've written a spiritual sequel to it, so hopefully at some point and then probably next year, the year after, we'll be filming that with our production company. And I'm recently got involved with a play. It's an adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft story called Shadow over Innsmouth, and there's a small theatre company that I'm doing that with in Warwick. And doing some horror on stage, which will be very fun, existentialist horror.
Bit of makeup involved in that?
Yes, playing a fish person at some point, so that'll be interesting.
That's the scale of the story, isn't it?
Yes, the scale of the story is fish people attack a small town. H.P. Lovecraft was an odd fellow, but very good at making the absurd seem terrifying, so, yes. looking forward to that.
Well, thank you to you both. I know you've had sort of a long evening with both rehearsal and popping in. So we have got Lizzie Waldron and The Bedside Murder.
Yes.
2 weeks tonight, the 8th of December at 7:30. Kate and Jack, big thank you for coming in, and all the best for the play, of course. I shall be here sitting quietly in the corner and pressing a few buttons, and I'm sure it'll go very, very well. Thank you for joining me in the studio, and all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The world of Malcolm Noble's crime fiction. Loving life in Harborough.
It's your station.
8FM.
South Leicestershire and North Northamptonshire's 102.3.
8FM.